hypothesis is more or less likely to be true in all cases.
There you go.
So what else is there really to debate apart from until we get the map, then we're ready to, like, you know.
I'm just really interested in, like, the background of flat Earth. You know, the whole.
Yeah, I'm interested in learning about it.
The idea about the history. You know, when they mention all of this censorship throughout history, this mass censorship. I don't understand how that's even possible, even comprehensible.
This goes back in the modern age, all the way back to the 1800s with Samuel Robotham and others who said that we're on some sort of a flat plane. He was arguing for the flat Earth.
I don't just mean that. I mean, like,
but the thing is, recently it came to light because of NASA's fake-looking pictures.
Okay.
It looked like they took flat photos.
Why are they fake?
Computer models or deceptive computer model layering to give you a curved impression that was false. And then when you look at them on the ISS and the space station, you see them hanging off of harnesses. You see them on holographic computer digital layers.
Can I jump in real quick?
It just looks like they're faking something up there.
Yeah, they are. I can tell you why, though. There's a very legitimate reason why you would have to.
Don't they like go around the Earth multiple times and scan it, and then like?
Exactly. They have to look. This is the issue, right? Is that you can't exactly use your own eye to see the Earth. It is almost impossible. So yeah, they had to Photoshop the images.
Your own senses, and you can't analyze.
No, you're correct. You can't trust your own senses. No. Exactly.
But you can't use your own eye to trusting your own senses and not trusting the scientific research. It looks flat, therefore it's probably flat.
No, the reason it is, though, is because they have to, like, the Earth is, number one, right, I can't remember which one it was, but it was either so far out that it looked like a flipping grey dot or a star in space from, like, the moon from when they were taking pictures, or number two, they were so close that they had to take it in sections and then put it together.
Yeah,
because
but
otherwise you
the
can't
model
get the
that they put it around, that's the thing that's in contention. Is it a real representation? Like, if it looks flat, are they putting it on a flat model? Or does it look, say, flat, but they're putting it around a round model?
I mean, the whole point of NASA is education, so they're just wanting to find out stuff for us, right? Because that's
for the alien invasion. And the domination for the alien invasion, and get people to lose confidence in the
see, there's always this biblical sense of this biblical undertone.
You gotta see the ultimate goal of all this stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to see what the game plan is.
Can we try and eliminate... I mean, I hate saying this, but can we try and eliminate religion from the argument for the minute?
We can't, because...
I forget Europeans left God a long time ago. They're not comfortable with God. I forgot. I'm
sorry, but I am Christian. I have to say, though. So, let's just continue.
So, what were you saying, Mose?
What
is that?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question to Lemon, because I'm not really a photographer, and I can't really make a plausible argument against whether or not the photos on Earth are faked. But do you believe, Lemon, that we actually went to space?
The space beneath the firmament, beneath the dome.
What does that mean? But what does that mean, though?
You guys...
There's nothing beyond Earth. This is it. Beyond Earth, probably just limitless water. We're not getting past the firmament.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, I would prefer, if I was, like, that dedicated to, like, solving this, I would actually explore the world. I mean, I would explore the world and see it. And see where I end up. And I'd do that. I mean, if there's a theory that's new, then I would definitely fund, like, a project for people to go around the world.
Definitely.
Like, and vlog and do all of that and upload it to YouTube, or even stream it live on Twitch to actually go and adventure out. Because I'm curious, like...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'd do that gladly, but I have no money, not old enough, so I'm out of the question, unless anyone else wants to do it. But,
I'm just not buying anything NASA's selling.
Why are you buying what you're... Why are you buying what you're told by a community, though?
Interpretation of reality.
If you're not buying what NASA's telling you, then why are you buying what a community is, even though NASA's made up of scientists with more than a PhD in physics?
You just see which one is more accurate. So, for me right now, the flat Earth is an alternative explanation that leads to more investigation, more...
Alright, Lemon.
I really did, but I'm going to have to... say my farewell. I'm gonna have to go, but I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Lemon.
It was great talking to
you. Thank you, Lemon, for letting me discuss this with you, and thank everyone for participating. I'll see you guys later.
It was great listening to you. Right, peace out.
So, Lemon, why don't you believe the Earth is, I don't know, a different shape, like cubed or something?
You see flat land, like not cubed land.
Okay, why?
Makes sense. It's
why don't you travel to the edge? Why haven't we ever heard of somebody falling off the Earth?
There's a firmament in the way.
Because they never came back to tell the tale. No, I'm joking.
There's a firmament in the way, and the Antarctic Treaty prohibits...
Yeah, but what does that mean, the firmament in the way? The firmament is the sky, right?
Let me Google the firmament.
The dome that covers our world.
Let me see.
Crystalline glass.
You know how the sky is blue,
firmament is a Shakespearean word for sky, isn't it? Let me check. Firmament.
I'm Googling it now, so agitate excitement among them.
Because I remember learning that when I was doing off like a different... Yeah, the sky. Shakespearean word, right? Yeah,
type of solid sky, yes. A solid sky.
But I'm guessing that they've stolen that word and adjusted the meaning to fit their agenda, right?
So what is that would probably be the edge.
Yeah.
So the firmament.
I mean, like, can we actually
pierce it? Why can't you pierce it then?
Good construction.
What does that mean? Good construction by who?
Whoa! That is a bit too generic there for a debate.
You see, why haven't your scientists of your community attempted to pierce through the firmament?
Can I chime in real quick?
On the flat plane.
Yeah,
let me just ask.
Wait a second.
Let me just quickly go through this quickly because I just want to hear what he says. Why don't they do that, Lemon? That's what I don't understand.
That's a good question. Other dude, you want to cut in?
No, Lemon. Just
no. Continue with the question.
It was called Operation Fishbowl. Look that up on YouTube.
Thank you.
Operation Fishbowl. Could you explain it to me? Because I think that would be
the firmament to try to blow up the firmament. They just launched nukes up into the air for no apparent reason.
Was this your community?
We're under a fishbowl, and they're probably launching the nukes up there to blow up the firmament. Other dude, you had a question?
Yeah. No, Lemon. Just 1 second,
answer
please.
The question. Answer that question.
I understand. Lemon. I know. I heard Operation Fishbowl, and that was by the United States of America. Why haven't your scientists attempted themselves rather than just hearing some source? That's what I don't understand. If you're truly adamant that it's like that, why don't you penetrate it?
Well, we'll have to work on that.
Is there a scheme in place?
That's another question. Dude, you had a question?
Can we not be avoidable of a actual generic question? Can we not be avoidable?
Well, I had a question.
JL Moose, did you have a comment?
Okay, so my comment about why is the flat Earth just haven't gone trying to penetrate is because one, it's probably because the Antarctic is around it. I don't fucking know. And two, money, because it's a community. It's not some like big government corporation like NASA, so they can't just all gather up on a plane and fucking fly there. And
why
three,
not?
Because it's a community.
But why can't they just buy a plane ticket and then just go there? I'm sure it's less than 1,000.
I mean, yeah, but
they could. I'm sure. Listen, even though you said that, I'm sure they still get regular funding. I imagine it's in the millions still. So why can't they just organize this experiment? Because this sounds to me like the penultimate experiment really to find out if you could literally go into outer space through the firmament. Because it's on a level plane, you should be able to theoretically, shouldn't you?
Well, technically, it says in the Bible that the firmament, above the firmament is water. It says that in the Bible. I mean, I heard
and that's what I'm trying to get at. That's my issue with the flat Earth. It's because, as I said, it relies heavily on the biblical connotation rather than empirical data.
Exactly. Yeah,
and by that I mean that literally every single concept in this theory, in this hypothesis, is that it stems from a biblical idea. There's nothing here that's come from some sort of scientific approach.
Coming from some sort of Far Eastern mystical tradition, you just respected out of PC gobbledygook. I mean, that's your anti-Christian bigotry instilled by PC leftist conditioning that makes you anti-Bible and anything that comes out of the Bible anyway. But if it was, say, like an Indian Hindu,
why would I be anti-Bible?
Cosmology, you'd be like, oh, this is so ancient and so beautiful and so wise, but Christianity, nah, send it to hell. I mean, whatever. If the Bible's true or false, whatever. Let's just try to go with the sources that give us some information, Christian or not.
Can't we say that about science then?
Yeah, like I mean, like I'm just saying that I try and read the Bible and understand it a bit more, but oh, where else am I going with this? Give me a second.
I can't read.
Actually, no. While I'm saying something, right? Can we because what's end up happening, right? I've noticed with people is that us globalists in this Discord are actually eager to learn, and we're asking questions. Why this? Why that? And then it's turned into like whatever straw manning it is. But it's turned out. So we're trying to change our minds and wrap our minds about this new concept because I mean, legitimately it could be true. But when we bring something up. No.
Just let him finish.
Okay, I'm almost done anyway, don't worry. And it turns out that, from what I've heard, you're trying to defend it a bit too much, but when we give you a thing, then it seems like you're really hardcore, not keeping an open mind about. Oh yeah, but that could be true as well. It's more.
It could be, but I'd say go to YouTube and go get some decent videos. But
yeah, but that's the point. Where you got Lemon?
Anymore.
Well, thank God you said go to YouTube because I got 500.
You get before. So I mean, you could come to this Discord and go to
Lemon. The problem is Lemon. The problem is that where you have a YouTube video explaining all of this, we have scientific equations that you yourself
can literally. No.
Is pushing a very certain agenda.
I told you what the agenda was. It was godlessness, making man God, and making a lie out of certain things that.
Lemon, shut the fuck up.
So you're not going to get
Lemon.
Why can I get anything from us? You have to do the research yourself.
Why can I use these formulas that they give me that I can replicate all of the scientific things they're trying to announce? Why can I replicate all of these under the conditions they provide? I don't understand. That's my issue.
Because
whereas you will say I have a YouTube video.
And you're going to need to break those theories a little bit and maybe reapply them. Maybe come at them from a flatter perspective.
That seems like rather than going on empirical data, you're just going on intuition and just going with things that fit your narrative, and that doesn't seem logical.
And sometimes you need to come at it from a different perspective.
Screw the different perspective. Can we not look at different perspectives?
Yes.
Can we all think on the same foundation? Because
we're
at the end of the day, we know that 1 + 1 equals 2.
Reply to anything I say.
Okay, we know that 1 + 1 equals 2. So if we're using maths, can we at least think about staying on the same foundation so that it does not hurt our arguments?
Well, a different perspective would say you see stuff disappearing over the horizon. If you come from a round Earth perspective, you say it's disappearing over curvature. But if you're coming from a flat Earth perspective, you're saying maybe optically there's some sort of trick. Maybe it's disappearing due to angular size limitations and disappearing because of thickened columns of air, and it's appearing to go over some hump, but it's a false impression. That's the sort of stuff that we have to test.
I mean, like science and religion kind of have to be a thing. Like, religion is null without science, and science is technically null without like religion.
Well, science did the first attack by saying that the material world is all that can be known, which is an indirect attack on the spirit world. After 100 or 200 years of that, you're going to have cold material machinists who have no spirit. So they attack first. So the main thing is just knowing exactly where this is going toward the cold machine world.
That's my issue. You're focusing way too much on religion.
We shall have order. We shall have order.
You're focusing way too much on religion.
I don't think we're focusing enough, but
the whole concept of flat Earth comes from the Bible.
Taking it out of religion, but people still don't listen. So
you literally said the scientists are at war with the spiritual world and God, and I don't.
Yes.
So really, you're just hardcore Christians, if anything, aren't you? You're not actual scientists.
You're theologians. Flat earther, some sort of other non-Christian flat earther. Maybe you'll listen to somebody else other than a Christian, whatever.
What Morph is a Christian. He just said he's a die-hard Christian. He reads the Bible.
No, I'm Protestant. I do try and read the Bible as much as I can.
Yeah.
No, honestly,
so
like,
that's
these people,
so
man,
if
like,
anything,
I'm just confused why we have to, like, you know.
Like he's a glober. Weren't you trying to get a flat earther who wasn't religious or something?
I don't get it, really. I really don't get it.
What?
Wait, can you just repeat that?
Scientific arguments.
Weren't you trying to speak
cosmology from,
to
like,
a flat earther
old ass times
who
to try
was
and prove the
not
Earth is flat?
religious?
Later on, it was
Yes,
found
I
by
want to
the
speak
Greeks
to
or
one.
whoever was it.
Yeah.
It was
But
before
it's
the Wikipedia
impossible to
that,
find one because the
they proposed
hardcore
the theory of there
concepts
being an
of
infinite universe.
flat Earth stem from the Bible.
Because if you're not religious, then you're obviously going to have a ground in maths and science, right? Because otherwise, what else is there?
Even what you
Like,
said
there's
doesn't
theory,
prove
but theory has to be proven for us to consider it. And whatever we know so far has, like, what you need to tell us what you know so far, so that we can actually agree with what's next. But we haven't.
I haven't seen any algorithms. I haven't seen any formulas I can test out myself to come up with the same results you have. I haven't seen a standardized version of the flat Earth map, which, if in my mind, that would probably be the first thing to do, wouldn't it, to make sure everything's all correct and stuff.
Yeah,
you just seem it just seems like rather than being scientists, because you're trying to view this as a scientific thing, which is not the case at all, because you're going against everything that science wants to science is based on. You seem like theologians more than anything. Is that not true?
You seem like an anti-Christian science zealot. So you're a zealot
but the main
atheism and
but the reason you're saying that
on the other side. So we got two zealots going head to head.
Yeah, but
okay.
What?
Well, I am no longer like following the Bible type deal like I used to.
Yeah.
I recently came across some videos that explained how the Bible was written after the Jews were in Egypt. Apparently,
I want to see this. For all you guys to see it as well.
Let's address the notion that boats go over the horizon by using logic and reason. Something sorely missing in today's society, where
that's 1080p.
It seems regurgitating a narrative over and over again is sadly removing this ability from most people, and is also dumbing down the population into thoughtless, brainless zombies. So let's begin. Using my own observation of the Stenahide...
Let me pause this really quick. Yeah, I have the mic on.
As it made its way from Haitian to the Isle of Man.
Deafened because I'm watching this video.
I will tell you how to critically analyze
I want to show everybody
as opposed to simply believing that you are seeing it go over Earth curve. First, we need to acknowledge several things. 1, the inferior mirage. 2, perspective. 3, atmospheric effects. Courtesy of the channel Flat Earth Audio, the footage I filmed has been motion tracked and sped up, so that you can see the change over a much shorter video.
Okay, let's see what he brings up here. It's clearly...
Okay, so you've seen the video, and now we need to go through the process of understanding what we saw by means of a scientific breakdown of the factors in play. Firstly, the inferior mirage. What effects is this having on the boat? Well, to get an answer to that, you need to trawl through the data at hand, in other videos uploaded on my channel. Here we have a dog playing in the sands 1 mile away, and intermittently being hidden by an inferior mirage. Certainly not by Earth curve.
Okay, so why is the guy's leg not hidden? I want to know that then. The fuck? The dog is with the guy.
Here we have 2 shots of the same piece of land taken on different days. In one, we have a very clear image.
And guys, I'm not saying I know everything about this stuff because I really don't. I just wanna see what they're bringing to the table.
An inferior mirage. The land we see on a clear day is hidden behind the inferior mirage. In effect, just as with the dog example, the air itself is causing a blockage by means of an inferior mirage.
This effect in both examples is hiding the bottom of the target.
Okay, but it doesn't hide the top of the target. And for
now,
like
using
for the
logic
ship
and
to
reason,
be
knowing that the air is the medium
like,
in which the inferior mirage
I don't get his
itself,
argument here.
let's apply
It's hiding
that
the
same
bottom,
thought
not the
process
top.
to
Like
the
you can
boat.
still see the top of the ship
As the boat
around
gets
here,
further away,
and if the inferior
the
mirage would
inferior
be like
mirage starts
here,
to block out the bottom of
that
the
means
boat.
the ship is still going far enough away.
Essentially, the hull should be seen. And were it not for the inferior mirage, it would be. Just as with the video of the land you just watched.
I don't understand
Does
that.
this
Like,
thought process
look,
resonate with you?
okay.
Do you believe
can still
the dog
see
was
the bottom of
bouncing
the
in and
ship.
out of the earth curve?
Still
Or
see
that
the
land
guy's
that
legs.
we saw on a clear day was being loomed up by a process of refraction?
Can you guys hear me?
Over the curvature.
Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Just want to make
Isn't
sure.
it more
So I'm not
logical
talking
to
to
think
myself.
that the narrow viewing angle contributes to creating the effect of an inferior mirage, and that that blockage is in the air, and this is the cause of the lower part of the boat being hidden?
Okay, but that still doesn't excuse the
take a
top
look at
part.
perspective.
It still
Things
shows that
get
the boat is
smaller the
going away.
further
What
away
did
they
you just
go.
the boat disappearing?
This image clearly shows the
come on.
boat in different stages of its journey, getting perspectively smaller the further away it goes. The red line denotes the angle where the inferior mirage is taking place, and it is a consistent height above the waterline in each and every still shot. So the angle of the inferior mirage is not changing. However,
my volume's very low.
certainly
Sorry.
is getting further away, and thus smaller and smaller.
I don't know
to the
how to
point where
increase it,
half
to
of
be
the
honest.
boat is now completely hidden behind that inferior mirage.
I'm just
This is
watching the
perspective
video.
in play. And had it not been for the atmospheric effects in the last images, I'll get to that in a minute, then we would have seen the boat get so small that all of it would have been hidden behind that air layer that is causing the inferior mirage. Again, this goes without question, that critical analysis of these observations must always include perspective, and must also include the ability to ask questions and then apply logic and reason to your analysis. Simply parroting a narrative will no longer cut it. This boat is not going over Earth curve. Lastly,
So
let's look at the atmospheric effects. Well, in the last few frames of the video, we see the boat vanish. The camera is no longer able to see it. In this exact case, did the boat disappear due to it going over the curve? Or was it due to the density of the atmosphere making the boat simply blend into the background? Let's take a critical look at the evidence. Here we have one of those last frames where the boat essentially is invisible. Now let's ramp up the colour and contrast and see if anything is still to be seen. You guessed it, the boat was indeed still there. You can clearly make out the top of the boat and an inferior mirage below it. Yes, the atmosphere is one of the main reasons why we cannot see for hundreds of miles at sea level.
Okay.
So in this entire video, did we actually see a boat go over the curvature of the Earth? Well, let's recap.
Still see it going lower and lower.
The dog, hidden by the inferior mirage.
And like, first, I mean, I can't really see it because it's probably not far away enough, but like, what I'm trying to say here is that it's not like the Earth, it's not like the boat traveled far enough for you to even like prove that it's not curving over the Earth or whatever. Like, you can't just record a boat from like 2 miles away. Yes, there is mirroring at low angles due to effects like mirage, warm air heated by the water beneath, cooler over air overhead. It only happens at sorry. I know nothing is hidden. He just doesn't understand that. Like,
of the land, hidden by inferior mirage.
I still don't understand how this proves that the Earth is flat.
Mirage. What should be the next logical statement? I'll just say it. The bottom of the boat is hidden by the inferior mirage.
Okay, but is the top hidden? No.
Perspective. The boat is getting smaller as it goes further away. This perspective view of the boat brings the angle with which the inferior mirage starts much higher up the boat. This really is easy to understand when you apply logic and reason. Atmospheric effects. Yes, we cannot see through infinite amounts of atmosphere at sea level. It will eventually block everything out. Logic. I hope this demonstration has helped you to understand that the only people applying logic and reason in a scientific way right now, when it comes to the shape of the Earth, is flat earthers. To a globalist, this boat video was proof the boat went over a curve. Yet to the scientist in all of us, with some critical thinking, we can come to the very real conclusion that the Earth is flat and that no boat ever went over the curve of the Earth. Till next time.
I just want to know if there was a way to see every boat from like let's say you're in New York, right? Say you're in New York and you're looking for a ship that left New York and is going towards Europe, or let's say towards Africa. They would you can't see the ship going all the way from New York to Africa or to Europe. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, don't quote me, but like I'm just like thinking, like, if there was a curve of the Earth, why? Okay, now Discord's getting spammed with like people leaving and joining. So like, if there was a if the Earth was flat, wouldn't you be able to technically see the boat? He's applying, yeah, ignore the physics, how light travel. He just needs to pick a day when the air and water are the same temperature, and then there would be no mirage. Yeah, and that's also like very it's like, I don't know, I just don't understand these arguments, like, really. And like, if the Earth was flat, wouldn't you be able to see the boat leaving from New York and be going all the way to Europe, or like, let's say Africa, and you'll be able to see it all the time, but you can't. And I want to. Yeah, let me just go back to this. Sorry.
Just like, oh, wait, what was the distance from the Earth to the Sun? Because the distance from the Earth to the Sun is 149.6 million kilometers.
That was you remember that. Well. That was assumed. This is the problem. It's all been assumed.
What are you basing it off? Everything that we said
What data do you go on? What do you go on? We go on empirical data. What do you go on? What is your evidence for the flat Earth? No, you're not fucking answering now, and it's very frustrating.
No, what is, I haven't even made a claim.
Give me some formulas that we could
made a claim. You've made a claim that Eratosthenes, who you couldn't even.
No. You remember after you spoke to me before you.
Right? You made that claim, and then I've just said, well, actually, the problem with the experiment is that you just prove what you assume at the start, which is absolutely true.
What you're trying to. I can see how your mind's working right now. You're thinking because I didn't reply to it, I have no reply at all. And that's ridiculous.
I've just disproved your claim quite easily.
But then again, look at Professor Stick. He's literally disproved like hundreds of claims Flat Earth has made.
Literally linked
and the claim that you've disproved from Mountain Man is redundant now, basically.
Oh, no, sorry.
But
it's easy to just assert things. I mean, you'd have to talk about the exact claim that he made. You know, like...
Could you give me some formulas that I could test?
Person X disproved all of the globe Earth claims, therefore it's flat. Like, that's easy to do. Anyone can do that.
But anyone could do it the other way around. So can we leave it up to the scientists to discuss it?
That's the point. You just did that. Anyway, I'm saying it's not logical to just say that, right? You have to actually talk about the subject matter. You can't just say, a person I like, a YouTuber I like, did something I agree with, therefore case closed, right? That's not how it works.
Okay.
Well, Zach,
that is what you just did.
There's no anything. The Earth is just flat and it's like a dome above us. And there's just, apparently, according to this Lemon guy, there's just infinite water all around
I'm
us.
being messaged like 100 people. It's messaging me 1 second.
Yeah, I've seen that one video when they were doing the splits with shooting a bowl or something to light into something. And when they weren't monitoring it, it made like a whole bunch of markings on the wall or whatever. And then when they monitored it, it went through the slits perfectly. Have you seen that experiment?
Sorry. I mean, if you can help me understand this, the new number 2, if you're still here. If you could help me understand what they were trying to say. Because
I'm just
still
people's
pretty
replies.
New to this, sorry. I just want to record it because I find it
right. What was the question?
This guy just uses religious arguments.
there was like this YouTube video that showed that there was like 2 splits in the wall, and they put water through it or light beams or something like that through it, and there was like this weird pattern on the side of the wall. So they decided to monitor
they were saying something about
situation closer with cameras or whatever. Okay. And when they monitored it, it showed that each thing went straight through the slots and made perfect hits on the other side of the wall versus what it did before.
I think they're talking about like
it's because they were watching it versus like trying to see the outcome.
Okay. Can I just ask before anything, can someone link me to this live stream? Or is it not actually live and it's just called live stream just to make us think it's live?
I've already checked. I couldn't find it, but I couldn't.
So we're only in live stream just for the sake of the debate, because I generally find it interesting to look back on what people have said.
I honestly don't know. I didn't look that far in. I literally just searched up 24/7 Discord live stream.
So this guy?
So I wouldn't trust anything I say, but...
Because, like, surely if we're in the live stream channel, then someone in here has to be recording it.
Oh, shit.
Well, but it's definitely not me, because I'm not a Flat Earth channel, I'm a gaming channel, so...
Okay. It's just called live stream. I don't know that it's necessarily, I don't know that it's necessarily live. You'd have to ask...
Citizen, I do want the link to the thing.
My computer isn't strong enough for me to stream.
Citizen's saying that he's going to give me the link, so it's Big Citizen Kang.
More. Pass me that link too, please.
Very faint.
Yeah.
More. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
What games do you play?
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess Fortnite.
Yeah, sure.
I don't play Fortnite, dude.
Damn it.
Hey, do you want to join my server?
Yeah, I'll join.
Why don't I join myself? Yeah, sure. You can just DM me the link.
Fucking, I want to join. What the fuck? I might actually. What is it? 1.12.
No, I'm joking, but yeah. Do you want to play some Minecraft? Because I've got Minecraft as well.
This one from Minecraft.
I'm literally playing Minecraft as we speak.
Joking, but
I'm playing Minecraft as we speak as well. In fact, if I just go in and turn on my game activity, let's see how long I've been playing it for then. Right, here we go. YouTube watch cut on. Wait a second. What?
Oh yeah, and the one thing.
It's live.
No, hold up. Pass me that link. Right.
Yep, it's live. Legit, it's live. Right, I'm gonna. Who wants the link? DM me if you want the link.
Wait, let me give me a second. I
what's your name?
If I can make this.
Morph the Psycho.
That's what I thought.
Where is it?
Right.
Audio maybe. System sound.
It's got a delay on it,
microphone.
but yeah, someone is definitely recording.
Maybe I should boost it. If I boost it to this,
okay,
is it better?
Someone might have just started when you asked, possibly.
Let me know in the chat.
Yeah,
if
mine's
better.
just updating because I haven't really been on my thing for ages.
Right. So I'll just hear myself.
Oh shit! Huh? Oh, there's only 6 watching. Ooh.
6 watching.
I didn't know we were being recorded. Ooh.
Yeah, he's in.
You're gonna be famous, bruh.
Dude, I don't want to be famous, to be fair.
Well, you are now.
Oh, great. With only 6 people watching, yeah, great. Oh, well.
That's a bit better. You're so
Video on demand, bro.
Okay.
Oh god, the echoes fucking give me age 5 cancer.
Let me
But
stage 5 cancer.
I still like the original reason why I asked to join this Discord is right because of Chris, or as he was called, Flat Earther in the other Discord server, is because I wanted to learn like where this stems from.
I honestly
and I have the theory about this that there's multiple things that actually make, because I at the end of the day I'm never ever gonna change my opinion about the globe, and it's not gonna affect my everyday life. Because
isn't that a bit ignorant to say that?
Yeah. So
I don't care
if
anyway.
evidence is presented that goes against my worldview, I will ignore it.
Well, I mean, if it's hardcore evidence, then sure, I'll listen to it. I mean, I try.
You just said you'll never change your opinion. You just said, hold on, brother. You just said you'll never change your opinion. So you're changing your opinion now already?
Well, this guy sounds Russian as fuck.
Right. Sorry about that.
I think he's Russian 100%. He
yeah,
sounds
I completely
Russian.
messed up.
Sounds Russian.
You could say it's unlikely that I will see convincing evidence. That's fine.
Yeah, well, I'll probably say that is. I mean, as soon as I see convincing evidence, then I'll consider it. But what I'm trying to do, I came here so I could understand and I could learn. And then Chris said, bring more people so that he could explain it, because otherwise it would have been a one-to-one conversation.
Well, dude, your brick wall of ignorance is already crumbling.
I'm sorry, but I'm not even like an adult yet, so that's probably why I'm like.
Wait a minute.
Really
what do you
missing
mean?
the point.
How old are you?
Early teens.
I was going to say, if I was you, dude, don't tell
15.
anyone your age, but you have to be over 13 to be here. If you're
18.
No, 13.
I said early teens.
I know. I
Okay,
said 15. What do you want?
Look, I'm just saying, if you're younger than 13, you're gonna have to leave. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm not leaving then.
Okay, good. If I don't, it's just Discord's terms of service, so we just have to abide by those.
1 second, guys.
Isn't Discord terms of service? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Discord terms of
If you're under
service.
13, you can't be on Discord.
Yeah.
What?
Don't worry,
That's
I'm
true.
13, turning 16 soon.
I know a lot of people who gotta get off Discord then fucking hell.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to send in a copy of your passport, bruv.
I've got a little bit of a conspiracy.
all
Okay.
the games that I've
And I'm genuinely being serious. So we've got the Flat Earther group, which I'm proudly a Flat Earther, but sadly I haven't earned that role yet in this server. And then you have the Globers, spit on them, the scum.
Excuse me?
There's no need,
Let's not
there's no need
discriminate
for
in a
violence,
debate.
sir.
Let's not discriminate in a debate.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. But
I would just mention,
yeah.
Chepo, that my banhammer is firmly in my right hand. So watch what you say.
Okay.
Dude, there's no need to be so tribal, okay?
But
the funniest
yeah,
thing is when people start
what
bringing up
if there's
arguments,
a
they just start
third,
fucking
like,
banning everybody.
believers, like a third set?
I got banned 2 times yesterday.
Let me
So-
get Dinosaur.
A cube in Minecraft?
Cuba.
So maybe they think the Earth is a cube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the
that's
thing with the
enough.
flat Earth.
That's enough.
If it's completely flat, then what about digging downwards?
Really?
What about
Because-
digging downwards?
Think about it.
Because then again, like, I mean, as much as Minecraft fantasies like completely fascinate me and all that, I kind of agree, and I'd like to like have people elaborate on that. Because I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say like a lot. I'm sorry,
but you know that on a globe, digging downwards is digging upwards, right?
Please don't fuck with my brain right now, Chief.
Okay,
I'm
well,
already
until
gone.
until you reach the North Pole, you're heading north. Until you reach the North Pole, and then you're heading south.
Sorry,
No, that's not. That, I wasn't talking about relative directions. I was talking about the concept.
But that
of
is
up and
relative
down.
direction, right?
No, the concept of up and down.
Dude, according to the globe Earth model, if you dig down in Australia, if you were to dig through the whole Earth, you'd come out in Europe.
Yeah, so you'd be heading upwards.
you can't go through the fucking
So digging
Yeah,
downwards
that's
would be
central
digging
gravity,
upwards.
right?
Maybe
Down and
that
up are the
hurts.
same direction on the globe.
Does that sound feasible, sir?
Well,
I mean, like, the only reason that the globe has
I'll
a
be
down
right
and
back.
up on a globe is because of the fact that
Guys,
we
keep
have gravity
listening
and we
to
have
this.
an Earth's core. Right, because that's where the actual... And then we have a magnetic field, which is what, I guess, supports the Earth's core. Why am I talking about this? But sure. Flipping heck.
Teacher's a flat earther.
Here's the thing, right? There's nothing about the globe that you can verify for yourself. Nothing, right?
Everyone else can do it for me. I don't know, honestly.
Well,
I'm still in school.
how many of your mates have done it?
What do you mean,
How many
mates?
people have done it? Well, you're saying, oh, other people can do it for me. Who in the world has verified that there's a core?
Albert Einstein.
No, he didn't. I don't even think he theorized the core.
I mean, doesn't that just make sense though?
Why would
Like,
it make sense?
Like,
No one can
'cause
verify
they're
it, but it makes sense
spouts
because
of magma.
I mean, how does it... Because, I mean, like... Wait, how do we even... Oh, okay, fine.
it's completely
Let me research
unverified.
this
No,
then.
no one on Earth has ever seen the core. No one.
Do
I mean,
we-
that's because isn't it like fucking 2000 something degrees Celsius? Actually, no, that's like
yeah,
the Earth.
yeah, actually quite close, to be fair.
Yeah,
That's-
but
that's
no one
what's
can
gonna
verify that
distance
either.
into the
Like, you
planet. So
you
next
could
episode's
you could
my
say
head
it's
into
50,000 degrees. There's no one who could prove or disprove that.
Well, the thing is, with the temperature of the core of our Earth, we at least know that's semi-high, and by semi-high I mean a good amount of it being like really hot, because magma exists, which means it's coming from somewhere, like volcanoes, where like just I have horrible times with explaining, and I usually contradict myself, but it just makes sense that's gonna come from somewhere. Do you know
If
what
it
I mean?
makes sense to you, then fine,
mean-
but it's not proven. It's just your opinion.
Haven't
What's
you
the
watched?
theory on, like, magnetic field? Like, what's the theory? Because compasses always point magnetic north.
Sure.
So, what's your theory behind, like, the magnetic field and stuff? and how like magnetism works, because the Earth apparently is that what we're told is it has a magnetic field.
I mean, the Earth objectively has magnetism. Like, no one denies this.
Okay, but the way it's actually the way that it works is by having two poles, north and south, for the magnets to actually work, negative and positive.
Right. Okay.
And by looking on a diagram of a round Earth, which I've actually looked at in a book, a standard textbook, it actually, like, the magnetic field goes through the poles of the Earth. So I'm wanting to know, like, how that links in with a flat Earth.
Can someone explain to me how magnets work?
Have you ever heard of a ring magnet?
A what magnet?
A ring magnet. Does anyone here own a speaker?
A speaker?
Yes, something that music comes out of.
Only headphones. No.
I have a Google Home. Does that count?
I mean, if it makes noise, then yes, it's a speaker. Right. Yes, that has a ring magnet in it, in all likelihood.
Why?
Sorry.
Why?
All speakers are just made with ring magnets.
All right.
Yeah, but there's a reason that it's there, though.
Obviously, I mean, they wouldn't put it in for shits and giggles, would they?
Well, I mean, only to raise the price, but otherwise, yeah, continue.
Yeah. So the point is, you own ring magnets, and the magnetism of like a flat Earth would be the same as a ring magnet. You'd have a central north pole, and you'd have a circumferential south pole on the outside.
Okay.
I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm glad Lemon left. I can now, actually hear what everyone says.
You can spread your wings.
Yeah.
I just want to...
Wait, so because, like, from what I've looked on Google Images of, like, flat Earth models,
who's Big King?
Like, I had a person DM me a flat Earth model himself.
Is anybody in this
so
chat
if you're saying that,
Big King?
Where's the actual magnetic field on the flat Earth, and how would you actually put that on a diagram?
It's the
What?
Let's not make fun of each other. I am being fully serious. Like, I'm trying to be fully serious because I want to know, like, as much about this as I can.
Yeah, but if there's a mirror layer, right,
I don't
like,
actually
that they're
necessarily
hidden
believe
behind,
in the
wouldn't they still
firmament,
need to
so
go
it's kind
past that and, like,
No, I'm just fucking with you.
No,
like,
no, but
based on the
seems
curve
to be
of
a
the
bit
Earth,
of a,
right? Wouldn't the
we have
ship
a lot of
need to
global people
go
come in
far
and
enough
they'll
so
say
that the curve
they'll kind of assume
has an
what we think.
effect on it, and that the top of the
I'm
ship
not trying to. So
I'm not saying you're
covered by
I'm just
that
saying that
mirage.
that is a thought trap
I don't
that people
understand
can fall
how that
into.
proves that the
Like,
Earth is
already
flat.
knowing what your opponent thinks is kind of like you fall into the
Like,
trap.
if you go far
of,
enough,
like,
the ship's
willful
gonna
ignorance,
eventually
and then you kind of just
leave your
assume that your
sight line.
opponent's an idiot.
And the ship would
And that's not
obviously
going to
go
help
down
you.
far enough that the top of it is hidden
Who's that guy
by that
joining in?
quote
Big
mirror layer
Big King.
that he's talking about.
Big King and...
Ito, miss. I guess the nefermisia.
Suka bleed.
Whoa, dude. Language.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to be as ignorant as possible, even though I'm, like, really ignorant.
Where are you from, dude? Your accent is
I'm not saying
lovely.
you're ignorant. I'm just saying, if you ever fall into the trap of assuming what your opponent thinks, then you have the chance of falling into ignorance. So just something to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, I joined this Discord to learn. I didn't join this Discord to argue.
By the way,
I try and ask questions.
Everybody
and
in the
when I get
stream,
annoyed, then I start
Arctic,
to argue.
Swampy, and
still,
Mr.
I
Gino, my
genuinely
friend, were
want to
talking in
know
our
how
group chat about
this came about.
They find this very funny.
Well, it's been a kind of theory for thousands of years. I mean, the globe Earth's about, as a theory, the globe Earth's
Where's
about
the rest of
2,000
the
years
ship
old.
then?
As a theory, the flat Earth is about maybe 5,000 years old. So, it's, they're both ancient.
Well, I mean,
theories.
also the reason that people used to believe the
I could
Earth was
just lower
flat
the
is because that's all they
Discord
knew.
volume, to be
Like in
honest.
Greek and shit, they only knew like that part. They didn't know that the rest of the world existed.
No.
Yeah,
The Greeks proved the Earth was round. I mean,
No, they didn't.
Well, I know
They
that,
have-
but like they didn't know like America
No, they
existed.
didn't. We had this.
Jesus.
Mountain Man said this 10 minutes ago. He couldn't even name the guy who supposedly proved it. So the question I would have for you guys is, if you don't even know who proved it, then how accurate is your knowledge of the whole theory?
Well, that's why we leave it up to scientists, because I don't believe that any of us here are actual scientists and like who do full testing and get funding for it.
Oh, is it better now?
That's why I find these kind of debates difficult, especially when it's like with the average person, like for say you and me. It's it's difficult. Number one, because we can't exactly. We're always at stalemate because we're not fighting it on the same terms.
Not necessarily. I would disagree with you that we're not scientists. because
this flat Earth guy's a scientist.
What is a scientist? That's a good question.
Someone who studies science.
Oh, well, that's
that's actually incorrect.
I mean, anyone could be a scientist. I mean, like, you can be a scientist at any point.
You have to do something.
Yes, you have to have an hypothesis.
Experiments the scientific way.
Well, yeah, you have to have an hypothesis, a thing that will actually needs to be tested in the first place. Like, anyone could be a scientist. If I had the hypothesis that, let's just say, for a good example, the Earth is round. Now, how would I test that the Earth is round? Now, you can put on secondary information or you can conduct your primary information, but being a scientist, you do primary information. So you conduct your own experiments with the equations that have already been discovered by basic things that we've either seen or, like, you know, worked out with maths. And then we try and prove that hypothesis. If we can't prove that hypothesis, then yes, we have to admit that, like, that scientists would have to admit that they're wrong.
White people in Australia.
And that this is the actual case. So
I would like to ask
the
him, but I
general
am
method
muted
of
in
science
this
is having
Discord.
a hypothesis. This is what I've been told anyway.
Oh, yo.
Is having a hypothesis.
Here's the question I actually asked. The question I asked was, what is a scientist? And the answer is anyone who follows the scientific method, right? Anyone who follows the scientific method is a scientist. Okay, you don't need to wear a lab coat. You don't have to have a PhD. You know, you don't like none of these. These are all titles that they don't mean anything. What matters is that you follow the scientific method, right?
Yeah.
So when you have someone like Eratosthenes, who's supposedly proved the Earth was spherical, the problem with his hypothesis was that he assumed he had a foundational assumption of the distance to the sun that he hadn't proven. When you do that, the rest of the experiment is completely meaningless. All he's done is he's proved that whenever he assumes something, he ends up with that result. So
if you can talk, Jail Moose, you see what a Village Idiot Control said before? Can you ask why people in Australia aren't able to see the Polaris star? I'm not allowed to talk in this Discord because they muted me.
No, because see, again, this is kind of like an affirming the consequence logical fallacy. You've been like, oh well, the Earth is spherical because Eratosthenes said it was.
Do you see what
it was because it is, right?
Village Idiot Control said before?
They're
like
both
he said,
they're like two corpses in rigor mortis leaning on each other.
I had to deal with others.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you haven't.
What I'm
built
saying
anything,
is, could
like,
you ask them
gone to the
why
sun
people in
to see how far
Australia
it is
are
away
unable to see the
from
Polaris star?
You've just
if you
assumed
can hear me,
the
let me know.
distance. And then when you assume the
why
distance,
people in Australia aren't able to see the Polaris star?
Shadow that you like because it's your theory, and then you say, "Oh, well, my theory's proven," but you don't know that the sun's that far. If the sun was closer, then the shadows would look the same.
Boys,
flatter. This
I have
is
a
the
question.
problem with that experiment.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. So before we continue, right? Can I so just because we're discussing something about quote unquote life or death here, right? How is the shape of the Earth gonna affect our everyday lives? Because no matter what you believe in, what's gonna be the main issues that you're gonna face? Not society issues, but how are you gonna think, and what's your mentality of the Earth gonna be if it was either a globe or flat? Because I'm curious why I should even care about what the shape of the Earth is anyway. I mean, all I see it as is a hobby, and it's a curious thing to actually understand.
Can I ask something, since someone who's watching the live stream wants to know? Why can't Australians see the polar star or whatever?
The Polaris star.
Don't ask me that.
Are you talking about Polaris?
Yeah, that. Yeah, Polaris star. Thank you.
Why can they or why can't they?
Why can't they?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know much.
I mean, if there's
I don't know because Earth is round.
Stars, it's not my field.
Okay.
That's why.
Sorry, person in the live stream, I tried.
I mean, I don't know anything, but if they can't see it, then you would have thought there'd be a northern and southern hemisphere. I mean,
Jail Moose.
This is just a thing that I'm just thinking.
If you can tell the flat Earth
if it was flat, then
old guy, I
think
he's a mod or something. If you can tell him to unban me, unmute me, then I can possibly
and Australia's
talk.
in the southern hemisphere, then what does that tell you?
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
that's just like a hypothesis. I would love to test it, but I don't know how to.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you wanna believe that? That's fine.
Well, I don't really want to believe anything, to be fair, but yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I did. I will try person or streamer. Flat Earth allude long, whatever your name is.
Old Lang Syne.
This wants to know if he can unmute himself, so he can explain?
It's Big Citizen Kang.
Who wants
Like,
to unmute?
ask the question.
It's Big Citizen Kang.
I can't unmute him if you don't repeat his name.
What's his name?
Big Citizen Kang.
Yes.
Big
third from the
Citizen
top.
Kang.
Big Citizen
Kang. Sounds like a troll name.
Sounds like a troll name, of course.
1 second, let me get my ban hammer.
Oh.
Down back.
I'm banned.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm just letting you guys know I'm streaming this.
Yep.
For the purpose of this discussing it. So we have people in the chat wondering about the Polaris star and like certain videos that you posted that people posted about what's this guy's name? I forgot his name, whatever. It was a video about a boat and it being under a mirror layer or something like that, and how the boat pretty much disappears and that it's all an illusion that the Earth is round. Stuff.
Wait, so are you talking about like a boat disappearing over horizon?
Yeah, but he called it a mirror layer. Yeah, it's called like the mirror layer, and it was like a mirage, and the boat.
What's a mirror layer?
Well, it's just to do with the amount of moisture in the atmosphere.
Yeah, so
you're looking over quite dense. Because bear in mind, like the way the atmosphere works is that it's denser, lower, so that creates a lot of distortion at kind of the bottom layer of the atmosphere. So if you're especially if you're looking out across water, because there'll be obviously a lot more moisture over like a sea, a river. So often it will cause like these distortions, even over a few miles.
Atmospheric refraction.
Okay, because I mean, like, I'm just gonna
explain it in layman terms also.
Well, I'm gonna just ask. The only reason that I can't see, because I'm just like I'm on Minecraft now, and I'm actually looking at one of my friends in a boat already with like 64 render distance. I'm just saying that, like, how
this guy's talking about Minecraft.
No, but I actually do have like a question behind this. You would have thought
Minecraft
you wouldn't see
is
the
reality.
boat disappear over the horizon.
Well,
if like, I mean, you would have thought you wouldn't see the boat disappear over horizon if the
over
Earth
or
was
into?
flat.
Over or into? I mean, how would you know the difference?
I mean, I would have thought like over the horizon. I mean, from what I'm seeing here, like judging it by this, which is a terrible judgment, I know, but it's a kind of theory. Like either way, over or into, like either way would actually work. I guess.
Well, that's my point.
Like, either way is answerable.
The problem you have is that 99% of what are given as like globe proofs are perfectly possible on a flat Earth as well. So you have like the Eratosthenes experiment. It's like, yeah, that can happen on either. Like it depends on how far the sun is away, and you can't directly measure that. And then you have like boats going over the horizon. Well, yeah, I mean, if it was curving, then sure, a boat would disappear over the curve. But you also have perspective and angular resolution to take into consideration as well. So it could be that as well. So this is kind of the problem, is that like I'm not saying that any of these things prove a flat Earth. I'm saying that they don't prove a globe. And so you have to come up with an experiment which is impossible on one.
But you said that every aspect of a globe Earth pretty much corresponds to a flat Earth. So the mass of the flat Earth is the same as a round one.
Fine. Well, we can like try and conduct an experiment, right? Because you say that you'd have to like work it out beforehand. So you'd have to give a condition, right? You'd have to probably give
the sunrise in the southern hemisphere,
a few conditions that we could actually test
the Polaris
to prove that what you're saying can actually make sense. Oh right, someone's messaged me. Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, so can I say one thing? So if there was a flat Earth, how would seasons and the northern and southern, like the differences in the northern southern hemisphere, be proven on the flat Earth? Like how we have different temperatures. How could you possibly prove that on a flat Earth that makes sense? Because like
can
wouldn't
I add on to that?
Yeah.
As well, because we have day and nights. We still have day and nights. But it's still, the temperature gets colder, and what people are saying, right, what scientists are saying is that, yeah, the temperatures get colder if, like, the northern hemisphere is, like, away from the sun instead of, like, directly towards it, so...
Yeah, because it's all at a tilt.
Yeah, because it's on a tilt. But on a flat Earth, I can only imagine, like, the sun would only be one way, and like the whatever the shape it is, like if it's even a circle or a square or whatever, like it would have to tilt away from the sun. It would have to tilt towards the sun. But how would it do that?
Yeah, but even if it tilted towards the sun, like
we've got a foundational assertion here. Why would it need to tilt?
Well then, because then how can you explain the different seasons if it doesn't tilt? If the sun is directly overhead.
Well, easily.
How? Okay, explain, please.
But I want to know why. Like, you seem to, in asking the question, you've put a bunch of kind of ad hoc assertions in before I can answer, and so this is why I'm asking why it would need to tilt, because in an answer I would give you, I would never include a tilt.
I was just
I'm just interested to know why you think a tilt is necessary.
Well, because the tilt is important. How would you have different temperatures in different hemisphere in the northern and southern hemisphere?
But why does the tilt cause that specifically?
Because the sun is further away,
angle.
right?
Because the angle. Look, the sun when the northern hemisphere is tilted more towards the sun, it's obviously going to be warmer there because the sun is hitting it at a more direct angle. And then
that's what I would have.
So then
No, not really. It's always going to be hotter at the center because it's hitting it at 90 degrees.
No, because how could you hit the actually, yeah, sorry. No, but I mean, like, what I'm saying is, like, the northern hemisphere, right? It's going to be warmer than the southern hemisphere at that point. If it's tilting towards the sun. So then
you're asking about a flat Earth cosmology.
Yeah, so then
this
exactly.
Is what I don't understand. So I'm trying to understand why a flat Earth would need to tilt in order to explain seasons. I don't understand.
Sorry, it wouldn't. Like, we want to know what you think about it. We want to.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have to tilt, but we just want to know what you think about it.
Yeah, like how do seasons form on a flat Earth? That's what I want to know. Like, how could you possibly prove that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that. So let's step back a second and just say, you have a globe model, right? And we have. Well, there are many globe models and many flat models. That's why you have the WGS84 model. It's the latest globe hypothesis, right? So neither of us have like what I would say a proven model. So when you're saying things like prove, I can't prove anything. But what I can certainly do is give you ideas as to what might be true. Okay. So I just wanted to get rid of the word prove because you haven't proven yours, and I probably can't prove mine. Okay.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think I can ever prove it unless I'm a physicist.
Well, because I don't.
From the fact
you can prove a negative, but you can't prove the Earth is either round or flat.
I mean, like, when you say,
but neither has been. So I just wanted to get rid of the word prove.
Well, what do you mean you can't prove it? Because we can clearly see the different.
Do you want me to answer question 1 or question 2? What do you want?
What was question 1 and 2 again?
Question 1 was the seasons. Question 2 is why can't you prove anything?
Answer question 1 first, and then go on.
But let's try and keep it so that we've got enough time to answer these questions. Okay, so I don't want to be like gish galloped. Let's have enough time to talk through things. So you've got the idea of seasons in a flat Earth. One idea would be that the sun travels in like a circular path.
They don't understand that. I'm trying to explain it, but maybe I'm explaining wrong. I don't know.
Summer. So if you're in, say, Australia,
that's what I'm trying to explain.
The sun would pass over you.
Somewhere, and then everywhere else in the southern, it's like summer in the northern hemisphere,
the sun would pass over you, and then as it became the northern summer,
like, I don't understand that.
The circle would become tighter and tighter towards the North Pole, and then as it goes back to.
How would it matter though? If the distance between the Earth and the sun stays the same, how the angle would matter? Well,
you're talking about the distance from, say, Australia to the sun would be closer in the southern summer, and it would be a lot further in the northern summer.
So you're saying the sun would be physically closer, not the circumference would be tighter?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would have to be physically closer.
So it means that either gravity, which most flat earthers do not believe, or some other force would have to be pulling it down.
No, wait, wouldn't
Australia.
Wouldn't it be like it's not that that gravity or anything is affecting, it's just the tilt that makes it closer. I wouldn't say closer, but like it just makes the sun hit at a more direct angle, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, all right, go on.
Yeah, so flat Earth, you old. You can keep going.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, that's basically one of the kind of theories as to how that works. I can't say that I've followed the sun around in a rocket ship or something. I don't know that that's true, but it's a theory. You asked how seasons work. I mean, what we can say about seasons is that they exist. What causes them, no one really knows. But you've got your theories, we've got ours.
Also, basically,
This guy
this
just
whole
said
flat Earth
no one
thing is
really,
actually a series of ideas.
no one
about
really
something
causes
different, and then
the
it's backed up with
the
logic.
seasons. What?
Okay.
What?
Well, let's strip it back right to the very beginning, Morph, right?
Oh my god, man.
Okay, so
I don't get this. I really don't understand these flat earthers.
Do you feel like you're moving?
No.
I mean, like.
Do you feel okay?
What you feel
Wait.
by moving.
Can I
if
say
you mean
something?
moving as in the ground move, then no. But if you mean moving as in my heart beating, then yes.
No,
yeah,
look.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay.
So let's say.
Do you feel like the ground below you is moving?
Well, no, it wouldn't, would it? No, I don't feel
No,
like
that would be weird.
There's a perfect good explanation for that. Like,
and
Wait.
yeah, I know what your explanation is. I'm just saying that you don't feel it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So what?
It's the
What
same.
is the
It's the same way like when you're in a
I can
car.
tell you if you let me talk.
Exactly.
Sorry.
That was going to be my explanation.
I can actually. Okay, I'm not saying that that's definitive proof, but what I am saying is it's a good start. Okay, you have the evidence of your senses. It's the baseline. You go, okay, I don't feel.
Do you realize that human senses are absolutely not perfect? That's
Exactly.
optical illusions.
I've just
because
said
That's how I haven't damaged my
I've
spine
just
on a
said
wheelchair.
it's not definitive proof, right? So you've got that as a baseline. You go, I can't feel myself move. Okay, cool.
Because I'm in a
So,
wheelchair.
Then, yeah, then
That's a true statement.
You then have to find evidence to the contrary. Okay, so does anyone have an experiment that proves that the Earth is moving?
So what would we actually need? So what would we need to? What are the variables that we need to actually discuss first? Then.
What do you mean by moving? Like spinning? Is that what you mean?
Like,
well, either moving in linearly or rotating, anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, rotating the day and night.
Day and night.
Rotating on its own axis.
The day and night cycle doesn't necessarily prove that.
Well, how does it not prove it? Because
right, can we continue with what he's saying, right? Like coming up with an experiment, right?
Well,
or something.
Well, let's put it this way, right? Let's say you are on a globe, right?
Okay.
But the Earth doesn't move, right? Let's just say that that's true. Is there another way you could explain the day-night cycle without motion of the Earth?
No.
So the sun couldn't be moving around you, for instance?
No.
I mean,
why not?
Well, people thought that,
it could, but
pretty...
then how would you explain stars and stuff? Why do stars move in the sky?
Sure.
Because...
Like, I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that there are lots of explanations, right?
No,
you need
but
to
I mean,
you need to get out of your kind of.
Pretty much, it's extremely easy to prove that it's not, because, I mean, the sun is very bigger than the Earth itself.
But you don't know that. You don't know that. Because you haven't been there, right? You haven't measured it directly. No, you don't. This is the thing. You are just repeating things. You are just repeating things you've heard, right? You haven't done this yourself.
Of course not.
Problem with all of this. Exactly. So like, so a guy tells me something and I go, oh well, it's true.
So now how do we know anything is real if we can't prove it ourselves? So how do we know? Like how do we know that carbon monoxide is real? If like just an example, how do we know it's real? How do we know it's there and it's not something else killing us? If we can't smell it, see it, whatever, taste it, like you can still. We find the chemicals. Yeah, we find the chemicals that make up carbon monoxide.
Then it's if it's repeatable, then it's fine. I mean that's a key fundamental of the scientific method is that it's repeatable. Okay, so when you say stuff like, oh yeah, well the sun's just 93 million miles away. Well, I can't check that for myself. Could be bullshit.
Yes, you
I
do.
don't know.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't know that. You don't know
Check
that.
the speed of light. You know the speed of light. You know how much time it took to travel from the sun to the Earth, and you can calculate this.
Again, it's a fundamental assumption of how far the sun is away. All of these evidences have a foundational assumption.
You have
can't you measure distance
speed of
by
light
light?
is a constant, and so is time. So the distance has to be correct.
Speed is like distance divided by time, isn't it, or something?
Distance is
but,
speed divided by time. Yeah.
Okay, so
so then if
how
we
have you
light
measured
as
the
a
speed of light
constant
then?
of a distance, then how would we make an experiment that can measure the speed that it's going at? If the speed of light is, what is the speed of light? Is the question.
I think 299,000 meters per second. I think.
Right. So the original
299,000.
the original thing that we were talking about was how can we devise an experiment that shows the Earth moves, right? Now, I think it was Big Citizen Kang who said, well, the day-night cycle proves it. Sorry if I'm straw manning you, I don't mean to, but I think that you said that.
Yeah,
now, I simply throw out an alternative where it might be the sun moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which also might be true. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying it might be, right? So how would you devise an experiment that proves one way or the other? And we haven't had anything since then. So this is the problem. You need to find an experiment that will prove the motion of the Earth, because the evidence of your senses says it's not moving. So you need to prove with something better than senses that it is moving. I mean, I admit that your senses are limited, but I will not just believe something because my senses might be wrong. It needs to be proven that my senses are wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
cool.
Like, generally, at that point, I would have referred to maths if I was understanding what you were saying, or am I completely wrong there?
But
I mean, what does maths prove?
Okay, right. Yeah.
Because math is a constant. Like,
maths is just a tool.
First of all,
maths doesn't necessarily prove anything.
You're saying your assumptions are dependent on your own senses, but each person is extremely different. So you can't. It's not scientific because I don't remember who said it, but like scientific method is something that can be repeatable. If every person's senses are not exactly the same, it cannot be repeatable.
Okay. I have an experiment.
I've already said that. I've already said that your senses aren't like they're not like the be all and end all. I just said that they're a good starting point. Okay. So, but until you have something better, then why would you go with anything else?
Okay.
Can I bring something up? So, you said the movement of the Earth, right? So, like, there was what is it called? In 1610, it says here Galileo turned his telescope towards Venus, and he saw that the planet passed through phases just like the moon. And with improved telescopes, it says astronomers started looking for another proof of the Earth's motion around the sun. Stellar parallax. Earth's orbit is huge, some 186 million miles in diameter. If an astronomer measures the position of a nearby star and then measures it again 6 months later, the star's apparent position against the background of more distant stars should shift a tiny amount. So,
and do they?
Well, yeah, it says here that it does.
Okay.
Yeah, but then that means that's they've given us a method to test out. So if we were going to take that into our own hands, we would have to repeat it exactly how they've written up the method. That's the whole point of science, is that it's repeatable. So we would have to do the.
I mean, I could probably find the formula. I don't know.
I mean,
but it's not
like,
about doing the maths. Like, let me give you an example here. I can give you maths for how I can run the 100 meters in 7 seconds, right?
How can you give maths for that?
Well, I just say, well, that if I had this much power in my thighs, and if I had femurs of this, this length, and if I did this, and I could find a mathematical construct, I could construct a mathematical construct that would then show you how it's possible, right? But that doesn't mean that it's reality. It
That's
just
a
means
crap
that
ton of variables to think about.
Well, of course, but this is the problem, though, isn't it? When you have a mathematical construct, it could be true, but it could well not be true. So this is why experiments are important. You have to test whether your mathematical construct, whether your hypothesis is actually reality, or if it's just a good hypothesis, good but flawed hypothesis. This is the point.
Or you check whether the limitations are allowing this or not, because, like, you cannot. Let's assume you're trying to run a kilometer or like a mile in 10 seconds, which is absolutely humanly impossible, but the math says you can. But you know you can't. You have the human limitation, so you can disprove that. You can say that you can't because you have fine enough evidence that you cannot do that.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the importance of experimentation: is that your test, like the maths, isn't the proof. The maths is part of the theory. Okay.
No. I'm saying the math is the most important thing, but you have to put it limitations. Like you have to know, like.
But it doesn't replace the experiment. Do you see what I'm saying?
Great, but like think of equations. Like the most simple equation that it says something cannot be like 1 divided by x. X cannot be 0, right? So it means 0 is the limitation. So the math still holds up, but it's still it just cannot be 0.
So when you were saying maths, we're actually talking about algebra, and we're substituting letters for actual things that happen, like kinetic energy equaling. Oh, flip! I forgot the equation. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's just been a while.
That's all right.
And it's 10 o'clock. I actually got it here. If I just stand up for a second, so here we go. Physics. Is this what I'm supposed to learn? Right. Man, I had homework on this and I didn't do it. That's the bit depressing.
Hopefully your teacher's not listening.
I highly doubt that. I don't think they even know how to use YouTube. Right, vectors and scalars. No, that's not it. So it's actually under forces, so that would be...
Do you mean V equals V0 plus AT?
Equation for kinetic energy, so... Tell you what, I was better off Googling it. It was... Oh, I feel so stupid. So it was half... no, I can't read that. Don't know what that says. K equals half air of the mass times by the velocity squared. Oh, and... Yeah,
I mean, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that is. Someone's just put it in the chat. Yeah, thank
you. Yeah, K equals half mv squared. That's right.
Yeah, K equals half mv squared, so... But now we've actually, like, when I was going on about substituting stuff, we've done, see, M equals mass in kilograms, right? I think it is, yeah. Yeah. So that's how we substitute stuff. So when we're talking about maths as a proof, then we're not talking about maths as in, like, numbers, we're talking about substitution, because when you can replace the letter with an actual thing like mass has to have a value, and that's when you plug in value. And no matter, like, what values you plug into maths, right, then it would still equal something legitimate.
Right? But, like, you're not actually substituting anything, because the equation half times mv squared, it's still a math equation. You can still absolutely calculate every single point on its graph.
Yeah.
It's still math. You're not substituting math.
But substitution is in maths. Like, I mean, there's a topic that you cover in maths about substituting letters for numbers. So it's still maths. Like, either way, even if you classify it under substitution, it's still gonna be maths because that's how it works.
Right. Correct.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, but what I'm saying isn't that, maths is wrong or anything like that, obviously. I'm just trying to say that sometimes you can have mathematical constructs that are internally consistent, but don't necessarily represent reality.
Okay.
And so that's kind of why you do experiments, otherwise you wouldn't bother with experiments at all.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, you could calculate every single little variable and then come up with the answer that, like, let's go back to the first example that you can't run a mile in 10 seconds. could calculate the amount of power you can push at your maximum, and your heart rate, and the amount of oxygen you get inside your body, and it's
sure, but what if you
at the end you can calculate that you cannot run a mile in 10 seconds.
Okay,
even
but
though theoretically you could.
Let's say you didn't bother with an experiment, okay, and you didn't account for one variable. You didn't realize that it needed to be accounted for. I don't know. Let's just say altitude. You didn't account for altitude, right? So you've gone, okay, well, according to my maths, which are internally consistent, this runner can run in 10 seconds and 100 meters in 10 seconds. And I'm not going to bother with the experiment. It's true, right? But you didn't account for altitude, okay? So,
well, of course not, because it's
but this is the problem, right?
No. Let's do this example.
It's not scientific because you only did an hypothesis in an experiment too.
This is why the experiment is necessary, though. Because if you've forgotten something or haven't accounted accurately for something, then you need to know that. That's why the experiment is important.
That's why multiple people do the experiments. That's why you write up the method and you write up a prediction for what should happen next. So if someone else does the experiment and they read your method and say, well, if this is the case, and this is why if you're predicting something, you need to give an equation for your prediction, because then you can plug all numbers in and you'll get an answer, and whatever it should be at least close to the answer is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, experiment is the mother of proof. Like,
so why are we disagreeing with experiments that other people have done and are funded?
No, it isn't.
So what's more fundamental than experiment?
Nothing. There is, like, the basis of science is that it's not closed-minded. It changes with time. Scientists used to think back in the 1300s, 1400s, that the sun revolves around the Earth. Now we know, sort of, I mean, you claim not, that the Earth revolves around the sun. So
yeah, but what experiments did anyone do to prove either of those positions?
Well, we have equations for that to prove.
So you have equations. Okay, what experiments did anyone do to prove either of? Like, I'm not saying I have an experiment that proves my hypothesis, but you don't have one either. This is the point.
Yeah.
Is that there is no experiment.
Can we refer back to like ages ago when you said about PhDs not mattering, but it's actually just to prove how knowledgeable that person is on experiments?
Wasn't actually what I said. What I said was, with regards to the definition of a scientist, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So yeah,
also,
so you can be a scientist if you're doing the scientific method. You can be a scientist, okay, as long as you are following it faithfully. And another guy might have a PhD and is doing it wrong. Okay, if he's not following the scientific method, then why should his hypothesis hold more weight than yours if you're actually carrying out the scientific method more? Yeah, but it would. This is the problem: is that a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, he's a PhD. You know, he's wearing a lab coat. It must be true." You know,
because it seems like you're talking about one specific person, because he studied a PhD. He did that PhD with hundreds of other more people. So if one
I
person
would get like a second view. If everyone else is disproving me, if everyone else can disprove him, like if I can disprove him, then people would continue with the experiment until they get the same results as the guy with the PhD, which is why you would create an experiment, because the guy, he has a PhD, okay, great, or a degree, but great, but if he's doing it wrong, then you would say he's doing it wrong. And if people don't believe you, you can say, well, try the experiment yourself. This is how you do the experiment. This is his method, because he's put the method up there for everyone to do. But surely, if he puts the method up, then he has nothing to hide.
Sure.
And so,
if he's following the scientific method faithfully, then that should be, at least it's repeatable. And then if I say, for instance, I hypothesize that grass is blue, right? You can go and see that grass actually isn't blue. So that's the repeatability. Sorry?
But that actually would be senses, because it's how we see things again.
Oh, okay, but I mean, you could say that.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that you're going to another layer of understanding. But let's just say that 99% of the world sees grass as green. If I claim that grass is blue, that's a pretty big claim. Okay, most people aren't going to repeat my hypothesis of grass being blue. So it's important to have that repeatability. You've got to have the experiment, and it's got to be repeatable. If you don't even have the experiment, you don't have anything. You just have an opinion.
Yeah, and then I guess that is all we have in this debate is opinions.
Sure, but it takes a while to get people to admit that, right? So if someone says like, "Oh yeah, the Earth moves," okay, well, where's your experiment? No one ever has one. So how do you know?
Like, because we have to about like being knowledgeable. So let's just say that PhD didn't account for following the scientific experiment accurately, but it was the fact that you were knowledgeable. I mean, yeah, of course, just exclude that for the minute, but just count the fact that you are knowledgeable on many experiments that people have done in the past, and you're knowledgeable on, like, other ways of thinking things through. I mean, because I've watched some people who have had a degree in that stuff. Yeah, they've, I've just had a brain fart, sorry.
That's all right. It's also important to understand that sometimes having some knowledge in an area can actually make you, what's the word? Like less intelligent than having no knowledge in an area. And what I mean by that is, for instance, when you get people who talk about the area of genetics, which is something I'm quite passionate about, is the area of genetics. You have people who are like population geneticists, and they want to comment on another kind of related field of genetics, but they will be kind of drawing on their own knowledge and not on the specialist knowledge they would require to intelligently comment on something else, right? So I'm trying to avoid using any technical language because it kind of gets boring for people if they don't know the field. But like if they're kind of in a field that's next to it but not in that field, then they can actually arrogantly proclaim things that are 100% wrong. But because they have some knowledge in population genetics, they think, well, yeah, I'm a geneticist. I know about genetics, right? So if say you're I don't know, an astrophysicist, you don't necessarily know about I don't know. You don't necessarily know about engineering, even though it's kind of related. You don't necessarily know.
There's branches, right? So you're talking about a learning pyramid and how, like, I understand, yeah.
So that's another thing to look out for.
Preferably, I'd like to hear the scientific terminology, just so number one, I can Google it to see if it actually makes sense, and number two, if you know the scientific terminology, you can explain it perfectly anyway.
Are you talking about genetics?
I mean, like anything really. I mean, if there is a scientific terminology thing, I'd rather hear it and not know much about it, so then I can research it later and learn more about it.
Okay, I mean, there's so much to know. I don't claim to know, most of the science with regards to the flat or the globe Earth. I know a little bit, but there's guys in here that, there's pilots in here, there's engineers in here that would be able to more intelligently put specific points across. So I would say just kind of lurk, and I think Battle Mod is I'm trying to think what Battle Mod is. I think he's an engineer. Marlene is a pilot. So if you want to know about kind of anything to do with planes, she'd be the right person to go to. There's quite a lot of knowledge in here, but it's just about catching the right people at the right times.
Yeah, because I mean, preferably, I mean, what would make sense and what would actually get the message across to? Okay, so I'm not saying I agree with anything. I mean, with the ideas that you explained, I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I'd say I'm keeping an open mind here, but I can't exactly agree or change my opinion until I, fully understand it. What I prefer, right, is having a condensed knowledge on things so that I can actually fully piece it together, because I like piecing together stuff, so...
Cool, okay, well, I
think it'd make more sense if it was all condensed. And I mean, lurking's okay, but then it means that I have to go through a maze to discover it all. I mean, I tell you what would be interesting is if everyone in this Discord server who had a field of expertise for this actually, number one, put it into a book or a YouTube series. That was almost like a, I mean, that would just what would be engaging for me to understand. Is each video in the playlist would piece together everything that you would know about the flat Earth, and it would be in a sort of linear fashion, so that anyone watching it, right, you could share it and anyone would understand it.
Yeah, so like a layman's guide to the flat Earth. But I mean, there's quite a lot of them. Okay, actually, no, you don't mean layman's guide, do you?
If you want a video like that, there's one by Eric Dubé called "The History of Flat," and it's pretty much what you just said. I mean, it's like a documentary, but he basically goes through the entire history, the ancient cosmologies, their viewpoints. He goes over the sun, the moon, the seasons. It's called "The History of Flat Earth" by Eric Dubé, and it's one of the better, kind of just professionally put together, hour and a half or so, kind of giving if anyone were to really if you don't know much about flat Earth, you're sort of introductory. If you just sat and watched that whole thing and took it all in, I mean, that's a huge amount of information and gives a lot of information about flat Earth.
And is that kind of the thing, the basis that all the people in the call and all the people in the Discord server believe? Is that the basics or what? Because from what I've seen, and what I've watched, flat earthers believe different things.
Yeah, well, here's a question I'd ask you. I don't know if you're old enough to vote or not, but I guess not. But
no, I'm not.
Do all Labour voters agree on everything?
I mean, depends on what you're voting for. I don't think so, no.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so do all Tory voters agree on everything?
Whatever that means, I don't think they do, no.
No, exactly. So you kind of have groups of people that are kind of loosely connected, and flat earthers are no different to that. Globe earthers are no different. You get globe earthers who are Christians. You get globe earthers who are atheists. Some are Muslims. Whatever. Same with flat earthers. It's kind of hard to say what do we believe? There's some fundamental basics that we all agree on, but basically most of the rest of it is up for discussion.
Because I mean, I am curious about fundamental basics. Because I mean, for a globe thing, we have fundamental basics. I mean, I don't know if this is the right word to say about either being ahead or not ahead in the scientific method of experiments. I mean, because we've talked about experimenting with different ideas, so why aren't we going with what other people have actually experimented with? If people have already funded, pumped massive amounts of money into projects like space or whatever, then why aren't we judging that? Because we won't, face it, I don't think anyone, I'm not sure, and this is being a bit judgy, but I don't think anyone here could fund a space mission to go to the moon. I don't think everyone put together would be able to do that. So why are we not going with what other people are saying to be quote-unquote true about what they figured out about the world and their perception of it?
Do you not at least admit that you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position there? What you're saying is, I can't do it, therefore someone who claims to have done it, I'll just believe him.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually agree. Well, yeah, to be fair, I agree with you there. But physically, I can't do it myself. I actually
neither can I. I'm not claiming to, and I'm not claiming that you have or haven't or anything like that. What I'm saying is, when you kind of outsource your brain like that, you leave yourself open to quite a lot of manipulation and lies.
Yep.
So I don't think that's a good position to be in.
Yeah. But then again, then here's the main question: what do you believe? And then, what can you get out of this?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, you could ask what the point is of all of this, and I would say, knowing the truth is, or at least wanting to know the truth is its own reward.